Good morning, it's Michael here from Michael's Card Art once again, and it's Wednesday, I think it's the last day of the month, Wednesday the 30th of April, and I've got a very simple project for you, and it doesn't matter whether you've got the stamps and the dies, it doesn't even matter if you've got the paper for it. But let me just explain. The other week I received in the mail from our good friends at Stampin' Up! Some designer series paper, or we call it designer series paper, DSP. You can call it craft pattern paper, whatever you want. And in it was the most fabulous array of patterns that you can play with. And as I got involved in experimenting and looking at what I could do with these papers, I found they're a little more challenging, I suppose, than what I first thought, because the mood of the paper is very much a watercolor. No, it's not. It's an impressionist design, I sense, and some gorgeous patterns as part of it on the reverse side. And I was trying to make some cards with it, and I just came across a bit of a roadblock mentally. I just couldn't find what I wanted to do with the paper. Anyway, I did eventually come up with an idea, and I want to show you what that idea was, and that's going to be the focus of today's class. So this is the pattern here it is. This is the paper that I landed upon to work with, this one here. So gorgeous bowl, still life in fact, and three white, I'm not going to say magnolias, but three white flowers. I can't think of the name. Anyway, look, very nice in its own right, very nice. But I just struggled with it, to use something with it. I was going to make a bit of a still life and put some fruit around here, but then the style of the fruit didn't match the style of the painting. So this is what I came up with instead. So it's the same card, and all I've done is I've just supplanted some die cuts over the top of it, and those die cuts consist of some blooms that I've made up, and also some fronds and some flora to add to the picture, and that's it. And so what I want to do is take you through that process, and it's very, very simple. This is, I would say this is work for somebody who is either intermediate or an advanced beginner, and it's not a difficult card. If you don't have this paper, and you can certainly order it from Stampin' Up, and you can use it order it via me, or you can become a demonstrator, and there's some very good deals on at the moment with Stampin' Up in terms of if you want to become a demonstrator, but more on that later. If you don't have this paper, then look around for another floral pattern, a still life, a bowl of flowers, and you can do a similar process with it, where you take some blossoms that are made up of 3 or 4 different pieces, stack those pieces on top, or color them, and then stack them, and then adhere them. And it's as simple as that. So it makes for a very, very pretty card, and your coloring technique will be the one, or will be the one thing that makes the product shine. And so what I'm going to do is step you through that colouring process. It's a little bit different from what I've normally done, but we'll walk you through that. And you can make a decision as to whether you like that or not, or if you want to do something a bit different. But anyway, so we're going to call that Blooms in a Bowl, and I'll get a few items ready and we'll get started. Now, what I've cut, I don't even know what the name of these bloom would be, but I've cut this particular die, I've used this particular die cut, and what it is 4 pieces for each bloom, and so forth. So what you need to do, and I think any bloom die cut is great, so long as you can shape it. I just don't like flat, two-dimensional floral blooms. And so what I've done is I've curved, I'll show you what I've done. I've used I'm just going to use this. I've used a very fine piece of equipment just to curve the pieces after I've coloured them. And the bottom piece, whilst it's curved, it's not curved a lot. You'll notice here the bottom piece, I've kept that pretty well flat with a bit of a curve, just so that you can cover the blooms that are currently printed on the designer series paper. If I was to curl these all the way up, you would see the footprint of the previously printed blooms. Hence why I'm saying just give them a bit of a fold, but don't fold them up too much to reveal that bottom footprint. And I think if you look at this one here, you can see what I'm talking about here. There's a slight bit of showing of that previous bloom. So, and if you don't have this one, this die cut, then I've just grabbed out, if you're a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, or if you've got this set, you could use Cheerful Daisies as an example. And there's 3 or 4 different blooms here, sizes here, that you can actually stack and then do something similar to this. So just look around in your stash to see something that has a bit of height and texture to it, and I think I would recommend something like that. Now, as for the colouring, let's look at that a bit more. So you can see here I've got pinks, and I've got some grey, some smoky grey. It's pretty in pink, it's smoky grey, and it's also the brown that you see, which is quite prominent, is pecan pie. And if you look at the surroundings of these blooms, you'll see that the grey, not a real lot of pinky tones, but the pecan pie colour is certainly prominent there. So I've leveraged those 2 colours and added to it the pretty in pink, just to give it some corresponding colour. And I think if you look at these blooms, the original ones, where I got the idea of the pink from is there are remnants of pink in these original blossoms here. So anyway, that's where that inspiration has come from. Okay, so Stampin' Up! Colours, Smoky Slate, Pecan Pie, and Pretty in Pink. Now, I said before that this was applied in a slightly different manner, and there's no right or wrong into the way one colours. The important thing is that one colours to achieve a desired effect. Now, what I'm doing, I can hear a little barking in the background. I think that's my little chihuahua Kiki holding court out there in the courtyard. So what I've done here is really just I'm applying splotches of colour. It's not the continuous rubbing, but let me show you how this ends up. And you'll notice I'm not using all white. This is Whisper White from Stampin' Up. It's well, it's certainly not white, and that's white, that's Whisper White. It's got a yellow in it. And let's get some grey on here. And that Whisper White just adds to the overall retro look, if you like, of the overall card itself. Now, you can see here, not a lot of double colouring has taken place. And I'll just get the last, I just want to put those daubers to their corresponding. And the Pecan Pie. Now, I give it a good flush of this colour here, the Pecan Pie. And see how it's just going on very randomly in, there we go. That is what I was looking for when I did my card originally. Let's just build on that with another, there we go. And there are the 4 pieces there. So let's just do that again. I've got brown. It doesn't matter what order you put them in. Brown was the most prominent colour. And then I've got my grey. Just take that around. And you're more or less covering the whole space. But with a single stroke. And I really like the effect that has come from that approach. So here's the 3rd piece. And there we go. Very, very simple, haphazard in its Let me just get this other piece too. Okay, so the pink's done there, grey. And we're going to finish this off with some gold embossing powder. Okay, so you can see there's quite a bit of pink on this last one. And let's get some brown into the mix. And there we go. Just a bit of brown there. Okay. Now, I'm going to grab, what did I use? Where is it gone? Okay, it's just a skewer. So, like I said, I'm just folding this one just a little bit, the leaves, giving them a bit of a bend, but I don't want them to lose too much of their flat approach to cover that those flowers on the base of the craft card. Now these are the ones who are getting a really good twist or a good fold. Okay, and then I'll just fold these other two, and then I'll show you how to efficiently add the embossing, the gold embossing powder. Now, there's it there, and this is the last one here. And I think you'll find the combination of the light, oops, it's alive. The combination of the light Whisper white paper with the three colors just randomly, this really is alive, just randomly added. It really does give it a nice finish, I believe. Now, some gold embossing powder and Versamark. Right, now I'm not even going to bother putting the embossing buddy over the cardstock because we're only going to be touching the smallest bit of area to get some stickiness for the embossing powder. And that's it. Look at that. That's all we're doing. Just the outer edges of the blossom. All right, so that's one and two. Just a fine little dip into the embossing powder. Three, just a little bit more there. And four. Here we go. As simple as that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is heat set those, or the embossing powder on those petals, and I'll bring that right back to you once I've finished that. Now here they are, here the finished product. There, on some of them there's very little gold embossing powder. That's fine. I don't need to make a statement. It's just a presence. Now what I did with those, there is one more thing we added to it, and I'll show you that. It's the stamen. But before I show you that, I just want to get these on in the right order. So ascending order, so from largest up to smallest, and I'm placing them in off center. So you can see here, leaf petal goes here, petal goes there. So they're not lined up, they're off center. I think that's the expression we use. And then the last one will go right in there. Doesn't need a lot of glue, just a small amount, just to make sure they hold. And I think this approach to colouring is just another way to illustrate the many ways that you can colour up cardstock. It's infinite how you can treat cardstock and have it bounce back. Now look at those gorgeous colors there. It really is a very, very nice blossom, I think. All right, now I'm going to repeat that same process for those other two blooms, and I'll come back to you and we'll put the stamen in the center. Now we've got our blossoms already colored and glued, and we've got the stamen to do, and I've also brought out just a couple of elements that we can color up and we can supplant here on the bowl with the blooms. Now I'm just going to, I've just colored up the stamen here. I wish somebody would tell me how to make these things. I have this process that goes on, and then it never gets completed properly, and then my stamen falls out, and I just don't know how to. I've never seen anyone on YouTube or anything do these. So if anyone wants to share their process, please. It'll be it'll be mostly appreciated. What I'm going to do, just while I've got you here, I'm just going to put in the stamens. Now I've got a glue blockage, and then we'll color up some of those greens. So all I'm doing, well, the way I do it, and I can't see that this is the right way, it must be an easier process. So all I do is drop that in there like that, and then it usually falls over, drives me crazy, and then the stamen has to be pulled out and start again. Now, oh dear, there it is, coming unraveled. Maybe I need some more glue in there. And now it's probably like a well. Okay, so I've got that there. Have I got enough for two more? Yes, I think so. So I'm just going to do what I normally do, roll it up, and that's the whole thing. I don't need all of that for one. Okay, so I've got that one. Roll it around and drop it into a well of glue. And the last one, I'll just put this here. There we go. Right. And I trust just a little more glue. There we go. Alright, I trust that will. Okay, now we've got the stamens in place. Just one thing I'll let you know before I talk about the greenery. If you look at if you've got this piece of designer series paper, you'll notice that the stamens are pointing in different directions. And this one's over here at the back, left, right, and left here. So we need to do the same thing, and the way we're going to do that, oops, nearly ran over Zorro. Yes, mister, how can I show you to the crowds out there? Okay, let me show you. I'm going to show you Kiki and Zorro. How do I do this? This will be the first time on public viewing, and here they are. That's Zorro, and there's Kiki. Yay! Hello. Hello. Two little chihuahuas. They've been outside playing in the grassed area, and normally they're sitting over here on their little chair, but today they've decided to chew on a bone. Okay, that's enough. All right. Oh, you're so cute. Sorry about that little interruption there. However, yes, that's enough. Okay. What we need to do to get those angles right. Okay, I'm just going to have to go and excuse myself. Right, children. What was I saying? Okay, yes, to get those angles, to give it a more realistic position, because you don't want the blooms to be just sitting there like that. You need them to be angled. So how I've done that in the past, I'll just show you. So this is the center of our floral. This one's pointing over here. So what we need to do is, with our dimensionals, create that effect by positioning the dimensionals in that way. So here's one here, and see how it's facing over to there, and this one will face over here. Whilst I'm not putting them straight in the center, I'm trying to put them straight in the center because we want to make sure we cover the footprint, cover those white blooms with our footprint. And so how I've done it is I've just put the first one down, and then I put the second one on that angle, and I'll attach the bloom in such a way that it sits on that angle. Oops, like so. And you can start to see they're now positioning themselves accordingly. And this one here, similar format, just in the center there. And then another one on top. And that gives you, now I've broken it. However, we'll use that to our advantage. There, and so that's got that angle there. And this one will go a little like that. Okay, that's what I was trying to say there. So you can see there, they're not sitting facing in the same direction. And that helps us get our, and what I've done here, I found this little fabulous thing in the back of the stash. And what I'm going to do is cut this off in its various elements. Now, I will show you how I colored that. But when it goes on, so you can hide it like so. And I've got this, done this one in pecan pie, and also in, it's too long, so we'll cut some of that off. Pecan pie and mossy meadow, for those of you who know those colors. There you go, so something like that. This one will go up here, I think. So you've got that there, and then I'll put this one, maybe, oh! She does that with that high-pitched bark, and then startles me. On your rugs. Hey, no. One word from me, and they do what they like. And then this one, we might take that over there, like so. And then you've got the green from the visual. That's too light. It needs a more wholesome leaf. Well, I'll get that for you. But that's the positioning that I'll go with at the moment. There is one more leaf that I want to put on there, but I'll just show you how I colored those up. Now, these I used in another project. And as you can see, there was a bit of green. I think that was Lost Lagoon. And here's a bit of light brown crumb cake, soft suede, and that's pecan pie. So, and all I've done with those, I want to use this one because I just want to use it up. But so I'll show you the coloring technique for that. I just need some mossy meadow, some garden green, and if she does that one more time, I'm going to have to put her outside. You've disgraced yourself, madam. Okay, so that's garden green, actually. And all I've done is with the dauber, and as anyone who's followed me before, they will know that the dauber is my favorite tool for coloring. And so with the brown underneath it, it just, and you can see the brown coming through a little bit there, and you'll see it more so here. And I don't try to cover all the brown, because I think there's something to be said for having two tones in our foliage. It just adds a little more interest to it, and we can do a lot with it. So there we go. And this one, Lost Lagoon, so that's not the color I want here, a bit more green, and so I'm just daubering over that. And that's really as hard as it is. And so if I was going to have a plain one, now you may have noticed I've used Whisper White for all of the pieces except for the foliage. And I went looking through the stash of offcuts and things like that, and this is where I found these, and I thought, well, I may as well use these even though they are cut in white. And it doesn't really matter. You can't notice the difference, whether it's white or Whisper White, which is what I've used on the blossoms. It works very well. White, Whisper White, it's just working very well. Now, what I want to do there is just put a couple of leaves, and I'm just going to grab... Now you're going to see the worst of me. So, you can see what I do in my spare time is cut out these things and then colour them up, and then I've got them ready to go. And here's the leaf that I would like to use. These ones. So I'm going to put that in there, and I'll just give it a bit more green. I think, yes, that's the best one. And so let me just get that out, and I'll give that a dose of... and you can see here the green and the different tones of green that I like to use. I'm just going to... I'll keep those two tones there, but I'll just give it a bit more of a touch of colour, because the rest of it is... There we go. Even bringing in some garden green over there. There we go. Oops, I don't mind some of that white showing through. I think that's good. And just the stem, and I think that's probably it. I'm going to leave it like that. And I'll fold those leaves back. There we go, like this. And place that up in there. That hides a bit more of that footprint, and I think that's it. As I bring that back down into screen, there we go. So the leaf is in here, and I think our card is just about done. All right, I'll just take some of this green off my fingers. And let me just think. All right, let's start to glue some of that in. And even though this is foliage, I will try and lift some of it up so that you can see that it's got some texture, and like so, so that it can sit up a little high on the card, like so. And the same thing with this here. There we go, something like that. And we've got our leaves and this little piece over here. I won't try and shape that one too much, but I think that's it. Now we'll put our sentiment somewhere along here once we've got these glued down. I think it makes a great card. In fact, what I'm trying to do is see what other images within that DSP that I can use. Oh dear, no, that wasn't my intention. So let me just grab a Q-tip and get rid of some of that glue, because I don't want it to be shining through. There we go. Okay, there's that, and this one. Yes, I'm just looking to see what else is in that pack of DSP or craft paper that I can also make another design from. And there we go. I can go there. And this one will go like so. There it is there. All right. And I was sitting there yesterday as I was doing this card thinking, oh, I've run out of ideas. I've got nothing else to give. Every design I've got has been created. And then this popped out. So when you do think you've got nothing else left to design, or you've got run out of ideas, you'll be surprised, as I was. All right, now is that securely firm? Possibly not. So let's just push that down just a little bit more. There we go. And this one like so. All right. What did I say in the last one? Sending hugs. So I just need to find a sentiment. I'll get that down, and I'll also get some backing board. This is what I used for this one. It was from some designer series paper from last season to do with the desert scene. I'll see if I can find that again, or I'll grab something else. I'll be straight back. And there it is there. So you can see that part of it is in pecan pie and part of it is in gold embossing powder. You could only do that two-tone stamping with an apparatus similar to this. It doesn't have to be this one, but that's what I was trying to demonstrate to you. Well, finally, here we are. We're at the end. Here's the sentiment, the two-tone sentiment we were just talking about. I've placed that on there. Everything else is secured down. We've got our designer series paper, the Country Woods, in the background, and we've got our base card, the Pebble Path, there. This is what the card originally looked like, and you can see this is what the card looks like now. And if I bring that down in screen, and there it is there. It's beautiful even in its original state. I was just fiddling, thinking, well, I've got no more ideas for making a card, and this is what's popped up. So, as I said to you before, if there's any day that you go, oh, woe is me, I'm not creative anymore, just sit there and just quietly play around with your stash, and you'll be surprised what pops into your head. So that's it for this week's video. I just want to finish with one other little snippet of information. For those people who live in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia, I just want you to know that I'm having an expo of some work that I've done, and that expo is going to be held at a venue called Neighbours Cafe over in East St Kilda on the 16th of May. The opening night is the 16th of May at around 6 o'clock. There'll be finger food and some drinks to sustain oneself, because man is not a camel. However, there will be a gold coin donation at the door, and I'm going to, anything that is bought or purchased on the evening, because everything will be for sale. And what I will be doing is donating a percentage of proceeds to the Locksport Community House bus. Now, my fabulous friend Christine Brown from over in Locksport alerted me to the issue that they're having with the community bus, and I thought, well, let's put some money towards that from whatever we make from our expo at Michael's Card Art. And so if you're in Melbourne on the 16th, please feel free to drop in. But if you could just give me a heads up that you might be there, so that I can at least organise catering accordingly. Now, if you can't make the 16th of May to Neighbours Cafe in 42 Chapel Street, East St Kilda, and you're most welcome to come along, the more the merrier. The expo will go for 4 to 5 weeks. I'm just waiting on confirmation from the cafe owner. But what we'll have is up to 70 pieces of work that I've created. Now, some of this stuff you will have seen via YouTube, or if you go onto my Instagram account under Michael's Card Art, or even my Facebook account under Michael's Card Art, you will see the 80 pieces from those accounts. But what I've done over and above just the card like this, everything has been framed, and it has a wax seal stamp just for authenticity, and all of those pieces are under glass now, and they will be displayed as such from the 16th of May. So please come along. The funds will go, or any proceeds that we make, any money we make, will go towards the Locksport Community House bus, and obviously pay for the expenses incurred in the expo. It's a little bit of a folly, a little bit of a fun, but I was encouraged to do this expo mostly by my crafting peers. So let's see how we go. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you learned something. And as I always say, I hope to see you next time at Michael's Card Art. So please take care and keep crafting. Thank you.